Hello everyone and welcome to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca here in Monterey, California for the final round of the 2021 GTV Supercup, the United States Trophy. We have a fascinating race in store here for the final round of GTV this year, with Yuki Takamura, Ethan Wright, Didier Arnaud and Alexander Zazolia all in contention for the Drivers' Championship. Takamura for Legion is undoubtedly the favourite with a 19-point lead over closest rival Ethan Wright, while Didier Arnaud and Alexander Zazolia will need almost perfect weekends to take home the championship trophy. For everybody else, it's all about pride, some also racing for their teams to secure the team's championships for their employer. In the team's championships, Medexic Racing with an 11-point lead over Legion Motorsport, while Kately Racing a further 25 behind. Grey Autosport are the fourth and final team in contention for the championship, 5 points further back. All four of the team's championship contenders also have a horse in the Drivers' Championship, so it's going to be down to whether or not the silver and bronze drivers of each of their teams can perform today. Let's take a look at the path to the title for the four contenders. For Yuki Takamura, it's quite simple. If he finishes 4th or above, or 5th with the fastest lap, he's going to win the title regardless of where any of his rivals finish. And it's going to take victories from Wright, Arnaud and Zazolia to try and stop him, unless Takamura finishes very low down in points or fails to score. For Ethan Wright, it's pretty simple as well. He's got to finish 4th or above and or 5th with the fastest lap if he is to have any chance of securing the GTV Supercup 2021. Didier Arnaud, that's 3rd or 4th with the fastest lap, so a podium is the key for Didier Arnaud today. For Alexander Zazolia, it's even more imperative to be quick. He must win or finish 2nd with the fastest lap and hope all of the other results go his way. So without further ado, let's take a look at how they'll start for today's GTV United States Trophy. On pole position is Ludwig von Senior for AF Occlusion, the single car team taking pole position here in emphatic style with a 4/10 margin over Ryota Enishi in 2nd position. Title contender Alexander Zazolia starts off well with 3rd position, while Clint Trevino, 4th place best silver driver and a fantastic performance. His teammate Didier Arnaud 5th with a decent starting point. He's to hope to clinch the championship today. He's going to have to look work from there. Diego Campos is in 6th position for his eponymous team, while 7th is Ethan Wright, the 3rd of our title contenders. Virgil de Witt is 8th, while Felix Rivera will start 9th. A disappointing qualifying session for Yuki Takamura will see him start only 10th, but even he will have to go forward if he's to hope to win that championship today. 11th place is Declan Byrne with Keith Murphy 12th, the 2nd of the Kately cars. James Thompson's 13th, best of the Phoenixes, while Sebastian Bergqvist 14th for Grey. Callum Brandon will start line astern with his Phoenix teammate in 15th, with Alexis Kaufman, the last of the Quantum cars, rounding out in 16th. 17th is Reese Kately driving for his team, while Luca Gray in 18th will also be driving for his own outfit. Alexei Luger in 19th is joined on the 10th row of the grid by Jonas Phipps, while the grid is rounded out by Cliff Trevino for Medexic and Dominic Hansen, fresh from his exploits in Italy for Formula Virtual. So there we have it, you know the contenders for the championship and the order for today's race. Without further ado, let's get started for the GTV United States Trophy. So here we go then, it all comes down to this. The WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, the venue for the finale of the 2021 GTV Supercup, and we are racing! Ludwig von Senior getting away well off the start there, and we got the pack racing through down the hill towards the Andretti hairpin, turn 1 of this magnificent racetrack. Keith Murphy there in 13th place. It's von Senior Enishi up into 2nd with Alexander Zazolia in 3rd. In fact, Alexander Zazolia has just got through into 2nd position. He's now in a position where he knows where as long as it goes his way with everybody else, he's in contention for the championship. Campos up into 5th. Clint Trevino making a poor start there, losing a position to his teammate Didier Arnaud, which won't bother the Medexic team one bit. Campos in 6th position with Wright 7th. Von Senior starting to make a break for it, already almost a second ahead of his nearest rival. Ryota Enishi there, 3rd position out of the championship contention, but holding up Didier Arnaud potentially. Keith Murphy making moves in the midfield ahead of James Thompson. A fast and frenetic start as ever to a GTV Supercup race there. Cliff Trevino all the way down in 21st, having made up a couple of positions there as he got off the start line. But von Senior still in the lead, 0.6 of a second. Alexander Zazolia slipstreaming him up the hill as they head towards the corkscrew. The leaders now having gone through the corkscrew down towards the final 2 or 3 corners of the circuit. Let's see if they can settle into a rhythm now. So they crossed the line for the first time. It's Ludwig von Senior still leading the race for AF Occlusion, hoping for his third victory of the season. Sorry, in only a half year in the sport, he's sure to be a force to be reckoned with for 2022 if he's entered. Alexander Zazulya will be hoping, though, that he can make some moves on von Senior as the race progresses, and hopefully he can get into the winning spot so that he can maximise his chances. Title contender Ethan Wright in 7th position as we ride on board there is hoping to make some progress forward as well. Cliff Trevino, 21st place, now 14.5 seconds off the lead already after a lap and a half, caught up in the traffic as of the back markers. Interestingly, Yuki Takamura yet to make up any ground from 10th place and actually not really bothering his teammate there, Felix Rivera. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Legion team invoke a couple of team tactics there to try and get Takamura ahead and in towards a better position where he can hope to win the championship. On board now with Clint Trevino, the bronze driver, having done a brilliant job a couple of weeks ago in Monza. Absolutely loving his first season in professional racing here, the amateur. Keith Murphy, 12th position, the silver driver for Kately there. Dominic Hansen right at the back, right on the tail of Clint Trevino. It says a lot about the quality of the GTV Supercup field that the driver in the bronze category in the GTV Supercup has just come back from Monza, having had his opportunity once again to race for Phoenix in Formula Virtual. Ethan Wright there with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:26.0. That's sure to be reduced a lot as the race goes on. The fastest lap in qualifying down in the 1:18. But for now, at least, that's 4 valuable championship points for Ethan Wright. Keith Murphy still in 12th place, hassling Declan Byrne, though. It's going to be interesting to see whether the Irishman can hold off the Canadian. At the front, the gap very stable between Alexander Zazulya and Ludwig von Senior. It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. Ryuta Onishi holding on to the pair of them, though, with Didier Arnaud also holding station in 4th place. Clint Trevino holding on well, 5th position there ahead of Diego Campos by just under a second, while Ethan Wright is hassling the Spaniard. The spectacular view there from the helicopter as they follow the cars through. On board with Clint Trevino again. Keith Murphy absolutely on the back of Declan Byrne. We can see why we keep cutting back to this. He gets so close to the back of the Irishman, but just can't quite make the move. Von Senior now just taking another 10th of a second, possibly a little bit more over Alexander Zazulya. It's going to be interesting to see whether that extends now. In fact, it is starting to extend. Ludwig von Senior, 2/10 faster that lap, setting the fastest lap of the race as it stands. So taking those 4 championship points out of the hands of any of our title contenders, which could prove to be just as crucial as if one of them takes it. And indeed, it's now Diego Campos with those championship points. Looking through, I don't think anyone's going to be beating them as they cross the line now. Certainly not Trevino or Hansen in the 130s along with Jonas Phipps. Keith Murphy, though, absolutely harrying the back of Declan Byrne. It's going to be interesting now. Can he make a move finally? Cliff Trevino under pressure once again from Dominic Hansen. Von Senior not quite able to extend the gap any further than that 7.5 tenths. In fact, Alexander Zazulya possibly just holding station. He knows that as it stands, second's good, but Didier Arnaud behind is going to be very close in terms of the championship. Alexis Kaufman for Quantum Industries Motorsport, the team that will be entering, interestingly, into the virtual 24-hour this year with an autonomous prototype with their DriverBot technology. The first time we'll see a completely autonomous vehicle in virtual motorsport. Keith Murphy, 12th position. Losing a little bit of time now, half a second away from Declan Byrne. That's a spectacular camera angle there on the corner, the left-hander after the corkscrew. On board now with Keith Murphy, you can see the driver working ever so hard at the wheel. Cliff Trevino as well in 21st position. For a driver that's second to last on the grid, absolutely hustling the car as hard as he can there. The thundering V8 of this Mercedes AMG. It's going to be interesting to see how the series progresses for the future for sure. Keith Murphy, 12th position once again. It's looking like that he is the cameraman's favourite today, apart from Clint Trevino. as the backmarkers actually have managed to get into the 129s for the first time. And once again, we have Cliff Trevino here in 21st place. Alexander Zazulya now, second position still, but now over 8/10 of a second. Ludwig von Senior just pulling out 1 or 2 tenths a lap. It could prove to be crucial if Zazulya can't quite manage to get there, but Ludwig von Senior very much controlling the field. Ryota Onishi now 2 seconds off the lead as well for the first time, which is also as a byproduct meaning that Didier Arnaud falling back 2.6 seconds off the lead. Yuki Takamura and Felix Rivera there ahead of Keith Murphy in the field. Takamura, the crucial car, I have to say at this point, 10th position, needs to advance forward, but still has the point advantage crucially. 3/10 off his teammate, everyone holding station in these early stages, just feeling each other out. To 124.2 for Ludwig von Senior, once again securing the fastest lap for AF Occlusion. Interestingly, looking at the times in the midfield, Rivera and Takamura and Byrne not managing to set their personal bests so far. So I think that they are being, well, Rivera very much holding up Yuki Takamura. This is a disaster for the Japanese driver for Legion Motorsport, because there is now a 6.5, 7-second gap between 8th placed Fergal de Wit for Quantum and Felix Rivera, and then behind him is Yuki Takamura in 10th position. That is going to be a crucial one. The time is ebbing away there for the Japanese driver, and that could well be his championship chances also disappearing in smoke. Zazulya on the previous lap might well have made a bit of a mistake there. He's 1.5 seconds off the leading Swede of Ludwig von Senior now, so a gap starting to open up. In fact, I think that might well have just been a brilliant lap from von Senior. He's now managed to eke out an advantage to over 3 seconds to the 3rd and 4th place drivers. So absolutely brilliant performance there from von Senior. Let's have a look now at who we have with the championship challengers. We've got Alexander Zazulya in 2nd place. There's Ludwig von Senior, another cracking lap. 123.7 with significant amounts of fuel on here, and the tyres just starting to lose their grip at the moment, I would imagine. Like, these tyres are very good, but as you put 7 or 8 racing laps on them, you do start to sacrifice a little bit of that speed in favour of the longevity of the tyre. Alexander Zazulya leading the championship challenges at the moment in 2nd, with Didier Arnaud 4th place, 2 seconds behind, but also with Ryota Onishi in between. The 3rd of those championship challenges, Ethan Wright, 7th position, 5.5 seconds off the lead. But you have to say, 16 seconds now, the gap between leader von Senior and Yuki Takamura in 10th. That is an absolute disaster, and it's still getting worse. It's going to be a long day from there for Yuki Takamura. Further back in the field, Alexis Kaufman holding up a little bit some of the back markers, I think, with Reese Cately with opening up a 5-second advantage over Kaufman. Zazulya now 2.5 seconds away from von Senior. Von Senior is gone, absolutely flying. Ryota Onishi now 2 seconds back from Zazulya as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because as it stands, I'm going to have to do a couple of calculations while I'm talking here, but as I stand, I think it's extremely close between Zazulya and Arnaud. Von Senior to 123.3, yet another fastest lap. It was going to be good. But Zazulya there setting his personal best there, but it's still 7/10 off the fastest lap from von Senior. You can see that the Swede has just opened up through the gears and is absolutely flying. Rivera and Takamura there both setting their personal best, but Takamura very much delayed and bound by the pace of his Cuban teammate. Rivera, 10 seconds between Rivera and Fergal de Wit ahead. That's just crucial in this race now. 17th place Alexis Kaufman here on the screens, with Luca Gray behind half a second, probably being hassled a little bit, although it doesn't seem like it. A very calm onboard we have here. Let's ride on board for a bit. Oh, there we go. Let's ride on board a bit with Cliff Trevino. So as it stands, we've actually got the championship challengers all in inverse order of their title. Let's have a look and recap. Alexander Zazulya, he has to win or finish second if he has any chance of the title. If Zazulya finishes second with fastest lap, he still needs the fastest lap to get this championship under his belt. He will need Takamura and ninth or below. If he can manage that, then Zazulya will win the championship. Looking at Didier Arnaud, though, if he finishes fourth or above with fastest lap, he has so Zazulya ideally needs to get either the fastest lap or another position, or Didier Arnaud needs to get one position as well or the fastest lap. Otherwise, as it stands, neither of them have a chance of winning the championship. And indeed, Ethan Wright in seventh, he has to finish fourth or above or fifth with the fastest lap if he is to hope to win the championship. So really, even in 10th position, this disastrous race for Yuki Takamura isn't quite so bad because he's still in the championship position here. But with both Zazulya and Arnaud one position away from making the move into the championship contention, it's got to be difficult to watch for the Legion Motorsport team. Cliff Trevino, 43 seconds off the lead now, the amateur driver, but holding on ahead of Dominic Hansen nonetheless. That's got to be a feather in the cap for any racing driver. Starting lap 10 now. Vonsigny down to a 1:22.4, 1.1 seconds ahead, faster on that lap alone than Alexander Zazulya. That is absolutely incredible. Once again, Rivera setting a fastest lap of the race now. With the context of the championship here, I don't know why Rivera is holding up his teammate, but alas, it's not going to make a lot of difference at the moment. Alexander Zazulya now nearly 5 seconds away. In fact, by the end of this lap, he definitely will be 5 seconds away from a charging Ludwig Vonsigny. And with every tenth of a second that falls away there, Alexander Zazulya's chances of the championship fall away too. And Didier Arnaud, though, 0.6 of a second away from Ryota Onishi. It'll be interesting to see that battle develop. Keith Murphy, 12th position once more, 21.9 seconds off the lead. Kaufman in 17th. Looks like he's still got Luca Gray behind him. It's going to be good to see this battle develop if it can. Two gentleman drivers, with, in the case of Luca Gray, one of the team owners driving the car. Keith Murphy, 12th place once more. A 22.2 for Ludwig Vonsigny. Alexander Zazulya, about 7 or 8 tenths off this lap. Looks well, a full second, in fact. And I think he's now well over 5 seconds away. Didier Arnaud, a tenth of a second quicker than Ryota Onishi. That is going to be the key battle between third and fourth position. Fifth place, Clint Trevino now. We can see the battle ahead of him between Onishi and Arnaud. It's going to be good, this. Let's see whether or not the Frenchman can reel in the Japanese driver and make a move. Half a second in it. Clint Trevino, though, doing a brilliant job in fifth place, holding on to his esteemed gold-rated teammate. It's a pretty impressive performance so far from the young American driver. So Alexis Kaufman in 17th position, still being hassled by Luca Gray. It's interesting, as I said earlier on, the Quantum Industries Motorsport team looking at motorsport in a very different context from most teams. A lot of teams racing, of course, for pure speed and to try and take victory. They're using it as a testbed for their autonomous technology. Their entry into GTV this year very much taken in the context of learning the cars, learning the way that a human driver will drive very well around one of these circuits around the world, and then taking that data and then putting it into algorithms and mathematical models to ensure that they can get their AI to drive in a very similar way, with the premise that if they can drive like this in a very quick and controlled manner, you put that onto the roads of the world and they're going to be just as capable. Didier Arnaud, fourth place, on board with the Frenchman now. Let's enjoy. Oh, no, let's not enjoy. Didiano, fourth place, still on the back of Ryota Onishi. Just needs to get a little bit closer to make that move. It's going to be difficult though. Ryota Onishi, of course, a Japanese driver, will hopefully want to see his countrymen take victory. Suzulia 7 seconds off the lead now. It's just slipping away. Yuki Takamura only now 8 seconds away from Fergal de Witt, of course, with Felix Bear in between. That's interesting to see because I think it means that Rivera has kind of stabilized his pace a little bit. The drivers ahead are fine. And of course, with Takamura in this position that he doesn't need to progress right now, it's not too bad, but he knows that it's only one retirement away in the case of Vonsigna and only one overtake away in the case of Didier Arnaud, who is still on the back of Ryota Onishi before the championship disappears through his fingers. For Ethan Wright, it's a little bit harder right now. It's not a particularly healthy situation that the Kately Racing driver finds himself in, unfortunately. The glorious thundering V8 there of Keith Murphy, the Kately Racing driver, who so Kately have a huge presence in the upcoming virtual 24-hour with 2 prototypes in the pro class, 1 in the amateur category, as well as an extensive portfolio in the GT categories. Didier Arnaud, 4th place, still creeping towards Ryota Onishi, but not quite there. Keith Murphy, of course, a brilliant driver in his own right. The former Indy virtual star has had some brilliant success over the years. Closing in Declan Byrne, though. In fact, he's actually lost a little bit of time to Declan Byrne. He's now being hassled by James Thompson, another former star of Formula Virtual, although I wouldn't doubt that we would see him once more at the very least in a Phoenix in the near future. Rhys Kately, the team owner of Kately Racing, also driving the car, having a brilliant performance, to be fair, 16th position overall. Not a bad result for him at all so far. It'll be interesting, and hopefully he can continue that form and maybe even make a little bit of progress forward. Though with the gap between himself and Sebastian Bergqvist now standing at 18 seconds, there's definite stratification on the grid between the pro and the amateur drivers in gold, silver and bronze respectively. Sebastian Bergqvist, 15th position there, just set his personal best lap of the race. Back on board with Keith Murphy. Going back to his career briefly, his best results in motorsport have very much taken place in Indy Virtual. Drove with the signature performance team backed by Mathershaw Technology for 2 full seasons, even taking a couple of podiums and a brilliant win at the Sebring International Raceway in 2017. The Canadian driver, very much a stalwart as well within the Kately Racing lineup, having done GTV this year as well as VTC with the Kately Racing team in the past. Luca Gray, 18th position here. Still now under a bit of pressure from Alexi Luger, I think, in the Legion car. So interesting to see that his pace has now gone from looking forward and trying to take the place from Alexis Kaufman to moving backwards, looking back, looking at his mirrors at the potential for Alexi Luger to make a move. A brilliant camera angle there through this glorious racetrack. The WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is an absolutely brilliant venue to close out our championship season here in the GTV Supercup. It's one of the classic circuits in North America, and indeed the first time the GTV Supercup, I believe, has exited the shores of Europe and gone overseas. Murphy there in 12th position with James Thompson in 13th and Callum Brandon 14th. The 2 Phoenix drivers not doing too badly at all there relative to their teammate Dominic Hansen, now over a minute off the lead. Ludwig Vonsigna, a 9-second gap at the front of the pack now. It's starting to get a little bit easy, I think, for Ludwig Vonsigna, just ploughing out the laps, absolutely dominant. Ryota Onishi 15.5 seconds back, and indeed 6 seconds away from Alexander Zazulia, while Didier Arnaud still half a second behind, but cannot make any inroads further in on that gap to the Japanese driver for Quantum Industries with Clint Trevino and Cliff Trevino. Medexik, the pharmaceutical company based not far from Laguna Seca at all, in Los Angeles, California, with Cliff Trevino, the founder of that company, funding his son Clint's fledgling career in GT racing. And these guys, the three Medexik racing drivers, will all be making their graduation into a prototype for the first time at the virtual 24 hours, with Clint, Cliff, and Didier Arnaud racing in a Porsche RS hybrid for Medexik Racing. The Mathershaw technology-backed team absolutely committed to these three's career. Kately there, you can see in the mirrors Alexis Kaufman, big and bold. You can see in Luca Gray's mirror as well, Alexi Luga there. So we've got ourselves a bit of a train of the bronze drivers, I believe. It's, yeah, Hansen there, a better lap than Trevino. It'll be interesting to see whether we can see a move from them. I feel a little bit static at the moment. In fact, as I say that, we have Keith Murphy having, oh wow, James Thompson had a quick look at Keith Murphy there, thought better of it into the corkscrew. It takes a brave racing driver to make a move into the corkscrew. We've seen it elsewhere in World Motorsport recently, that the corkscrew is a place where you overtake with commitment. Back on board with Keith Murphy once more as he exits the final corner. The Laguna Seca racetrack is an undulating, a challenge like no other, going down into turn one, or turn two with the kink from turn one, the Andretti hairpin. On board with him now as we go through in towards turn three. A right-hander with, it's a little bit off camber. It's quite difficult to get into turn three and get out of it quite nicely, because the opening part of the corner brings you in, it sucks you in with a positive camber, and as you go onto the exit, it's quite difficult to get the power down. We're now further back. In fact, back with Keith Murphy now, just in time for him to go up the hill out of turn five. Another brilliant corner as we go towards turn six. The fearsome left-hander. Throw the car in with all its might. Hope it sticks. Hit the curb. And then on the exit, yeah, you've got a rumble strip to save you, but not a lot more. And then head up towards one of the most famous corners and complexes in world motorsport, the corkscrew. Following on from that, it's turn 9, rainy curve, another positive camber, slightly banked corner, excellent viewing point before turn 10. The right-hander once again has a little bit of banking that pulls you in and means you get a good exit onto the short straight, the short chute before the final corner, turn 11, as you head down towards the finish line to do it all over again. Clint Trevino, 5th position, only 0.3 of a second now behind his teammate Didier Arnaud, who has fallen off the back of Ryota Onishi. 1.5 seconds now, the gap between Onishi and Arnaud. That is another crucial development here. And unfortunately, I think for the Medexik Racing team, it's one that looks like it's going to cost the Drivers' Championship for Arnaud. Although with Arnaud and Trevino 4th and 5th, it's a very positive result indeed in terms of maintaining their lead and now ultimately winning the GTV Supercup Teams Championship. Ludwig von Senior 10 seconds now ahead of Alexander Zazulya. It's Zazulya's championship hopes really falling away rapidly now. I think it's now a case of looking backwards. Yuki Takamura, 10th still, but only just over 1/10 of a second behind teammate Felix Rivera. Absolutely bottled. In fact, we can see them ahead. Oh no! Felix Rivera got it wrong in the start there, and then Yuki Takamura went in to the corner a bit deep, following him in. Rivera spins in front of his championship contender teammate, and it is Yuki Takamura down in 15th position. That is an absolute disaster. In fact, he hasn't got it moving yet. There's still the yellow flag out at the exit of the corkscrew. Can Yuki Takamura get the car going? Oh, Yuki Takamura has been... Oh, he's out, and that is absolutely incredible. That is so unlucky there for Yuki Takamura, following his teammate Felix Rivera into the corkscrew, where then Rivera spun. It was only a half spin, but unfortunately Takamura. Oh, that is absolutely incredible. As it stands, I don't think it's going to change anything in terms of the championship, because Zazulya hasn't got the fastest lap. Takamura in the pit lane now. I think he might be able to get back going. In fact, yes, he is back out on track. Yuki Takamura, a whole lap down, but in fact, has he come out right with? I think he's come out right with some of the midfielders. There's Fergal de Witt, 8th position now, 6 seconds between him and Ethan Wright ahead, and also Declan Byrne in 9th position. I think that is absolutely incredible though. Yuki Takamura back going, but a whole lap behind now. And in fact, Keith Murphy up to 10th position there, with benefiting from Felix Rivera and Yuki Takamura's misfortune there. That is incredible. So just to confirm, Alexander Zazulia must win or finish second place with the fastest lap, which currently sits, if I'm correct, with Ludwig von Senior. He will, as it stands, he will not have a chance to win the title. Didiano is in a similar position. He needs to find one more position. If he gets third position at this rate, he's looking good. But fourth or above with fastest lap would also get him the title. So he either needs to find some significant pace against the Ludwig von Senior, who is absolutely flying. I don't think anyone's going to catch him today on pace. So he's going to have to hope for something to happen. Ethan Wright, 4th or 5th place. He's currently 7th. That is not good enough either. I think despite the fact Yuki Takamura is last place and a lap down, he's still going to be okay as it stands. It's incredible. It's a comedy of errors though from the Legion team. In the first place, Rivera bottling him up for so long and costing him so much pace. And then ultimately Takamura followed his teammate into the second part of the corkscrew and made the error. That is utterly incredible, though. As it stands, I think it only helps the Medexic team in terms of the team's championship, with everybody else also looking to benefit there. Let's have a look at the team's title standings, and we can have a quick jot up of who is where. Medexic Racing, first place with 11 points in hand, and 4th and 5th on the track at the moment. 4th and 5th on the track at the moment will equate to 36 points added onto their total, giving them a net 48-point lead before we look at Legion Motorsports, who are now not scoring with any of their drivers. Kately Racing had a net 36-point deficit anyway, and Kately Racing's best driver in this race at the moment is Ethan Wright in 7th, I believe. So it's all falling the way of Medexic for the team's championships, but Yuki Takamura, against all odds, currently circulating a lap down in last place, still has a chance at winning the championship. Interestingly, Alexander Zazulia, 9.2 seconds. He has now pulled in 1.5 seconds in on Ludwig von Senior. This will be crucial now as we come to the point where the drivers at the back of the grid are about to be lapped. Can Alexander Zazulia or indeed Didier Arnaud start to get a little bit of advantage and make up some of the ground that they've lost previously to then try and take those valuable positions that will get them the GTV Supercup title? Alexis Kaufman with Luca Gray pushing him pretty much down into the exit of the corkscrew. That is very close racing between the pair of them there. Kaufman just looks like they're starting to just struggle with the tyres a little bit. Luca Gray with a little bit more grip from the front end there. It took Kaufman 2 or 3 turns into the right-hander at turn 10 to fully to actually get the grip to go into the corner. So we're looking now at Cliff Trevino there in 20th position with Dominic Hansen in 21st. I believe that behind we will then see Ludwig von Senior. I'm just trying to have a look. We're currently on. Yep. So now we're on. Now we've got Ethan Wright here, who's 18 seconds further back. So I didn't quite get a chance to have a look at that. But so now we're starting to see that on raw pace, the drivers have stopped setting fastest lap times. We've now reached the crossover point between the tyres getting faster. Oh, what happened there? Clint Trevino, I think, is up into 4th place because Didier Arnaud made a mistake that is that's another crucial point there. Clint Trevino taking the position away from his gold-rated teammate, who is in contention for the championship. It'll be interesting to see, though, if Clint Trevino has a bit of pace, can catch up to Ryota Onishi, and potentially pull Didier Arnaud along with him. But as it stands, that's only really bad news there for Arnaud. However, Alexander Zazulia looking at the gap to the leader, 7.6 seconds. It's closed down another 2.5 seconds in the last couple of laps. I think that Ludwig von Senior, being the first to get to all of this traffic, is really starting to struggle. In fact, I don't think he's got past any of the traffic yet, because Yuki Takamura is now 2 laps down, but Trevino and Hansen yet to be lapped. Zazulia 6.1. This gap is closing rapidly. It's down to 5 seconds. 4.7. I'm going to stop reading the timing screen now, but 123.2 for Ludwig von Senior. This race is closing up monumentally. The back markers coming into play big time. Clint Trevino, 119.7 against a 123 for the previous lap for Ludwig von Senior. He's 13 and 4. They're 13 and 14 seconds off the pace of the two mid-exit cars, but this is a huge pace differential, as now we see Luca Gray, Luger, Phipps, Trevino, Hansen, and Takamura all line astern, I believe. In fact, Takamura, I think, might well be fighting with Ludwig von Senior to stay only a single lap down. So that is the source of the issue here. It's Dominic Hansen, closely followed by Yuki Takamura, and then Ludwig von Senior trying to lap the two of them, but just can't get past. Alexander Zazulia down to 4.3 seconds behind now, as we are now approaching the halfway point of this race. It's all about to kick off, and it's all about to hot up because of the back markers. Cliff Trevino, 20th position, however, is going to have an absolutely huge impact on this race as it stands. Zazulia now 1.9 seconds away from Ludwig von Senior, but he will, of course, be bottled up just like the current leader of this race. Onishi, a 120.1, and a Clint Trevino with the fastest lap of the race there, a 119.6, and his teammate only a tenth of a second away. This is swinging back and forth. This is absolutely incredible. The Zazulia, though, 1.5 seconds off. I think he might now be feeling the effects of this traffic. You can hear there the squeal of Luca Gray's back tyres screaming enough to as he applies the power coming out of turn 5, going up the hill. It's now 1.3 seconds the lead gap. Ludwig von Senior 1.3 seconds ahead of Alexander Zazulia. Gray at the head of this train now, really. Alexis Kaufmann starting to break away slightly. You can see that Gray has lost a little bit of pace from his early stint to see, and it's now we're looking at Alexis Kaufmann pulling away ever so slightly. But Dominic Hansen, Cliff Trevino, and Jonas Phipps in particular, I think, are now holding up the race leader. And in fact, Alexander Zazulia, you can see, is right behind that red and black grey car. Red and black grey Autosport car, as opposed to the red and grey Medexit car. This race has closed up absolutely monumentally. Clint Trevino, a 1:19.586. That is an incredible lap. Now only 6 seconds away from the race lead. This is closing everything up absolutely perfectly for the championship fight, but this is an absolute bloodbath in prospect now for the remaining 24 laps of the GTV United States Trophy. The problem is now that for Clint Trevino, he has now managed to catch Ryota Onishi a little bit, which means he's going to start feeling the aerodynamic effects even in these GT cars where we're predominantly tyre grip based, but they will still have an awful lot of aerodynamic loading going through those massive rear wings and the front splitters in these cars. Cliff Trevino, 20th place, not really making any progress, but these guys are having an absolutely huge effect on the race. Ludwig von Senior now stuck there, but Alexander Zazulia just following. He can't do anything about it at the moment. Ryota Inishi, 2.4 seconds off the lead now. 2 seconds off the lead. He's going to be on the back of this train before you know it, as will Clint Trevino and Didier Arnaud. On board with Trevino, I believe... Yes, I think Takamura has now got past Hansen. So now there's only one car. Between Ludwig von Senior and Yuki Takamura. But Takamura, somebody that you'd expect to have the pace of the leaders, so actually probably won't be holding anyone up any more than the cars in front of him. Trevino there with Takamura behind. This is also helping Cliff Trevino move away a little bit from Dominic Hansen in 20th place, but now we have ourselves a lead battle. Ludwig von Senior in first place. For Clint Trevino up into third place ahead of Ryota Inishi. Clint Trevino has got onto the overall podium here. The silver rank driver having the race of his life on home soil. Ethan Wright makes his move up to sixth position overall. Diego Campos, though, fighting back by the look of it on the timing screen. I think that they're side by side somewhere. It'd be good to see it. But Ethan Wright looks like he's just about managed to get ahead for keeps. Ethan Wright only 3.3 seconds off the lead himself. This is closing everything up. This is exactly what Yuki Takamura did not need before the incident. Never mind afterwards. He is now a full lap down and struggling to make up the time to get it back. If he could clear these slower drivers, you'd have to say, with how the rest of the drivers are struggling to get past people, I think that he'd have a chance of getting that lap back and being on terms with them. But it's half a second from Ludwig von Senior to Alexander Zazulia. It's now Clint Trevino in third position, only a second off the lead, with Ryota Inishi fourth. Fifth place, Didier Arnaud, 2 seconds off the lead, but now 2 positions, crucially, away from where he needs to be. Right, Clint Trevino did indeed have the pace and the driving and the grip to get past Ryota Inishi once he arrived at him. In fact, here we go. I think it's 2/10 of a second between Zazulia and von Senior. I think we might be about to see something big happen. In fact, no, as they go into the corkscrew there, we managed to see it on board with Dominic Hansen. Zazulia had a quick look, lost the time there. He's now 4/10, half a second off. Can Clint... Oh, there you go. Crucially, it's Ludwig von Senior getting past Dominic Hansen there. So now von Senior has cleared one car. It's going to be a bit easier for the Swedish driver now compared to Zazulia. Zazulia will now lose a bit of time. In fact, there it is. Clint Trevino up into second position overall, passing Alexander Zazulia. Ryota Inishi also through. I think Zazulia got a terrible exit out of the corkscrew and it's cost him for 3 or 4 corners there. It's going to be crucial now. Can Didier Arnaud also make the move on the Ukrainian driver? In fact, Inishi clambering over the curb there to ensure he doesn't make contact with Zazulia. That is absolutely heads up driving from Inishi, but he wants to be careful not to damage his own car in his pursuit not to hit the other one. We're on board with Trevino. You can see behind, that is Yuki Takamura trying to unlap himself. Zazulia back up to third, though. This is all kicking off. Didier Arnaud, 5th place, and it looks like, is that Diego Campos going down the inside? Oh, it is, but not there, side by side. Diego Campos and Didier Arnaud. Campos on the inside for the left-hander as they head towards the Rahal Straight. He's pushed him out wide. He's on the grass. But it is Diego Campos that gets into 5th position overall, with Ethan Wright falling to 8th position behind Fergal de Witt, who gets down the inside. Oh, he's made contact. Ethan Wright goes in deep into the corkscrew and hits the back of Didier Arnaud. I wonder if he's got splitter damage, and I wonder if that damages the diffuser of Didier Arnaud. Absolutely incredible racing here at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, for the finale of the 2021 GTV Supercup. Ludwig von Senior still leads, though, against all the odds, with Clint Trevino now only 4/10 of a second off. And to be honest with you, with the way Clint's been driving today, you wouldn't put it past him to shock the entire field and take the overall victory despite being a silver-ranked driver. Alexander Zazulia now 1.3 seconds off, with Ryota Inishi, Diego Campos and Didier Arnaud following. Zazulia now needs 2 positions or one more position and the fastest lap, which is going to be very difficult in these circumstances, or And then for Didier Arnaud, he needs to find 3 positions or 2 and the fastest lap. And again, I don't think the fastest lap is going to be particularly easy for these drivers right now, being stuck behind the back markers. Thus, I think for Didier Arnaud, he needs to take advantage of anything that happens in front of him and get 3 positions, while now Alexander Zazulya is starting to fall back again. I think that it goes back to the case of I'm not quite convinced Zazulya has the overall pace. He's going to have to rely on luck. But even so, I think Didier Arnaud's day is run in terms of the championship hopes. Diego Campos for 4th position gets past Ryota Onishi though. That's going to be a popular move from Spain. Although, oh no, Diego Campos has got through. I think they are side by side, and it's going to be really interesting to see who can get that one. Keith Murphy, 10th place. It's a little bit of a sedate race for Keith Murphy. 10th place, 20 seconds off the lead. But with the way things are going, we've got the 1st to 8th covered by 4.6 seconds with everybody being bottled up. Keith Murphy, surely it's only a matter of time and whether or not he runs out of laps before he can start to make his way forward again. Diego Campos there, driving around the outside of row. Oh, Onishi down the inside into the Andretti hairpin. Onishi with an absolutely incredible move there on the Spanish driver, although I think they're still side by side going through into next corner. Clint Trevino in 2nd position overall. Nobody between him and Ludwig von Senior, although von Senior still has Yuki Takamura ahead, as well as, I believe it is, Clint Trevino. Ethan Wright, 7th position, 4.4 seconds off the lead. Felix Rivera up in 14th now. He has just done his fastest lap of the race so far. So still pace in the tyres if you've got clear air, but that is something that this lead pack certainly does not have. Cliff Trevino, 20th position, but he has affected this race in more ways than he could imagine. In many ways, he's managed to find some spots for his son in 2nd position, but he is also potentially looking at costing Didier Arnaud the chance of the championship, falling down. Although 3.6 seconds, he is still closing the gap. They've managed to, it's all change constantly on this racetrack, and it's so difficult to follow. I'm doing my best for you guys here. Clint Trevino down to 4/10 of a second, away from Ludwig von Senior in the lead. Alexis Kaufmann, another fastest lap there. The Quantum car coming into its own a little bit there, but with 10 seconds of clear air. And Alexis Kaufmann, you have to say, is the cause of all of this hassle. They are the first of this train. There's a little bit gap between Luca Gray and Alexis Iluga though. Clint Trevino in 2nd place, 0.6 off. The Pirelli tyres, they're squealing enough as they go through the right-hander of turn 3. Turn 4 follows. So now with 32 laps to go, we're about 2/3 of the way through this amazing race so far. We're going to have a quick run through the entire order because it's all going to change shortly, I'm pretty sure. So it's be good to go through and see who is where as it stands. Ludwig von Senior from pole position for AF Occlusion. It looks on paper like a relatively easy race, but it has been anything but there as Diego Campos goes slightly wide into the corkscrew and nearly has issues. 2nd place is Clint Trevino, the silver driver, having an absolutely incredible race at his home racetrack. For Medexic Racing, Alexander Zazulya, at the moment, the title contender, 2 positions away from the championship because he hasn't yet got the fastest lap. So Zazulya for Gray Autosport in 3rd place. 4th place is Diego Campos, 2 seconds off the lead though, after having made some good moves up from 7th on the grid. Didier Arnaud has fallen from, he's now where he started, but he has fallen a position from where his highest point was, 4th position, but he too needs, in fact, he has now got ahead of Ryota Onishi, I've missed that somewhere. Didier Arnaud has got ahead of Ryota Onishi, and that could be crucial. In fact, Clint Trevino has just got past Yuki Takamura there to lap him as well. That's crucial if he can keep tabs on the Swedish driver. Continuing back through the order now, Didier Arnaud, 5th position for Medexic. Ryota Onishi has now fallen to 6th for Quantum, while Ethan Wright, 7th position, the 3rd of our title contenders, is still in with a shout, but needs to make up some moves and hope that something goes wrong for Zazulya and Arnaud ahead. Fergal de Witt in 8th position, followed is the final one. Within 4 seconds of the race lead, the top 8 covered by less than almost 3.5 seconds, with Declan Byrne 9th position, 7 seconds off. But you can see that gap there. Keith Murphy in 10th, now 12.6 seconds off, having been 20 seconds off not that long ago at all. James Thompson is 11th, right on the back of Keith Murphy, as he has been for this whole race, but a decent performance there from the Phoenix Motorsport driver. 7 seconds back is another Phoenix car with Callum Brandon. In 13th position, Sebastian Bergqvist for Grey Autosport, 20 seconds off the race lead, but that's closing all the time, as it is for pretty much everybody ahead of Alexis Kaufman. Felix Rivera, 14th, having been running 9th for most of the race, and then having their issue where they went deep into the corkscrew. Reese Catley, 15th position, while Alexis Kaufman, 1 minute and 12 seconds off the lead now. So actually catching Alexis Kaufman, running away a little bit from Luca Gray, and it's now really Alexi Luger who is causing a bit more of the hassle. So anyway, Alexis Kaufman 16th, Luca Gray 17th, Alexi Luger 18th, Jonas Phipps in 19th position for Campos, with Cliff Trevino in 20th for Medexic Racing on camera there. Dominic Hansen rounds out so Cliff Trevino, the last car on the lead lap, but only just. You can see the lead. In fact, I think the leader. No, that is Clint Trevino. Apologies. Dominic Hansen, the last one lap down now in the Phoenix, while Yuki Takamura rounding out the race, 22nd, 2 laps down, and yet against all odds, still looking set to win the inaugural GTV Supercup Championship here at Laguna Seca, having gone in a little bit deep into the corkscrew, following his teammate in. Felix Rivera had a half spin. It was Yuki Takamura that had to pay the price, absolutely clobbering into his teammate. Had to be recovered back to the pits, lost a lap while doing so, then re-emerged and is now circulating. And to be honest with you, is following the leaders through the traffic, having lost pretty much an entire lap to the back markers. And yeah, against all odds, Yuki Takamura is still provisionally the champion. Ludwig von Senior, 4/10 ahead of Clint Trevino now. Clint Trevino every now and again making a move slightly closer. It's going to be interesting now. Can Cliff Trevino hold up Ludwig von Senior to allow his son through into the overall race lead of a GTV Supercup race? Moving now into the final 15 laps of this race. It has been absolutely fascinating. It was a slow start, admittedly. Everybody was starting to just feel out the situation, particularly the 4 championship contenders. But it's kicked into life. All hell has broken loose, and we are here at Laguna Seca with cars absolutely everywhere heading into the final corner. Ethan Wright boxed up behind Ryota Onishi there. And you can see it's now the top 9. Keith Murphy, 5.3 seconds off the race lead. He has made up 7 seconds in just over 2 laps. That is utterly incredible. Clint Trevino there. You can see the leader ahead. Tantalizingly close, but just can't do anything about it. The defense from Von Senior just right, putting the car in the right places, while he's also struggling to get past Cliff Trevino in the back marker Medexic Racing car. Interestingly, Von Senior and Trevino holding pace, but Zazulia losing out a little bit, and as a result also losing out Diego Campos and Didier Arnaud. It's despite the fact that they've got plenty of Despite the fact that they've also got plenty of traffic ahead of them, they seem to be doing slightly worse. Didier Arnaud up to 4th position ahead of Diego Campos, who spins. Diego Campos is round, falling down the order drastically there. I think he's going to just about recover. No, I think he's going to have to wait now for more of the cars. But Didier Arnaud up to 4th position is now 1 position away all of a sudden from glory. Keith Murphy, 10th position. It looks like there's smoke coming from the engine there in that Mercedes. I think that might be Keith Murphy's day done as well. Oh no, he started to move. I think he might have just had an issue. Diego Campos has had to be recovered back to the pit lane. So that will be a disastrous result after a really strong showing there so far from Diego Campos. Keith Murphy up and running again, losing 3 positions back to 13th position, sorry. But that has closed things up drastically as well. Alexander Zazulia now within a second of the lead, and crucially, only within 2/10 of a second from Clint Trevino. Diego Campos now coming back out of the pit lane, having been recovered, and he will drop to being a lap down. It's going to be interesting to see where he's come out in relation to the rest of the field. I don't know who that is ahead, but it looks like a Kately car of some sort. So It's not Reese Catley. Reese Catley's the other side of the circuit with Alexis Kaufman right behind in 15th place. Alexis Kaufman now, the pace of Trevino has been so slow relative to the other bronze runners that actually even the bronze runners are managing to pull away from Trevino and make up some time. Trevino now 11 seconds away from the nearest driver. It's Von Senior right behind now. Ethan Wright ahead of Ryota Anishi. Anishi's race going from bad to worse then. 6th position, but Ethan Wright now in 5th place. That could be crucial. If I have a quick look at the championship permutations, he has to finish 5th with the fastest lap. So let's go through it one more time just because we can. Alexander Zazulya needs to finish 1st or 2nd. He currently needs one more position and the fastest lap if he's to have a chance of winning this championship. However, Didier Arnaud, ahead of him in the championship, has to finish 3rd or above or 4th with the fastest lap. He needs one more position as well. Ethan Wright, 5th with the fastest lap or 4th. He needs one more position. So as it stands, actually, Ethan Wright has the most to stand to take the most from this, with one move being all he needs to take the GTV Supercup Championship. However, against all the odds, with only just over 10 laps to go, Yuki Takamura, 2 laps off the lead, still is in the box seat now to become the inaugural GTV Supercup champion. Laguna Seca has thrown up an absolutely incredible race. It's certainly not one I was expecting to see. It hasn't played out the way I was expecting to see it, to be honest with you, and frankly, it's been all the better for it. Clint Trevino now starting to eke his way back. Interestingly, he's making up time on the leader as well, which would suggest that he has just upped his pace a little bit, and which explains why Ludwig von Senior having a little bit of trouble. Clint Trevino has dropped back behind Yuki Takamura, who has unlapped himself from the young American, and he's now 2 seconds off. I don't know whether there's been a slight issue there, but this could be all that Zazulya needs to then take back 2nd and only require the fastest lap. It's going to be an interesting one, though, because the crucial move here is that Cliff Trevino is now 11 seconds back from Jonas Phipps. If everybody can clear him with 10 laps to go, they're all going to have a run at fastest lap on low fuel. They won't necessarily have used as much tyre while following at quite a lot slower rate. I'm sure they'll have been quite clever. In fact, Diego Campos there, and 1:19.2 takes the fastest lap away from, I think it was with Clint Trevino. So Campos there proving my point perfectly, that in the clear air, if you can get it, there is still pace in the cars, pace in the tyres, and pace because of the low fuel run. Clint Trevino 1.4 seconds away from the race lead. Alexander Zazulya 2 seconds away from potentially a world championship. Didier Arnaud, 4th position, needs to make up one more spot by passing the Zazulya, but 9/10 away. Ethan Wright, 5th position. The 3 championship contenders all together there. In fact, all 4 championship contenders are right together as well, because Yuki Takamura is on the same bit of track, albeit a full 2 laps behind the leaders. Sebastian Bergqvist, a slightly quiet race, but moved up into 11th position, just under a little bit of pressure from Felix Rivera, who has recovered to 12th as a result of Murphy's and Campos's issues. Yuki Takamura setting his fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.2. So it's still quite a slow pace by some of these drivers. Ethan Wright, a 1:20.7 there, for instance, in 5th position. This has been absolutely frenetic. Diego Campos, a 1:19.1. It's getting very close now to the qualifying pace. I think, let me have a quick look and refer back. I believe, yes, the quickest lap in qualifying was a 1:18.2, but a 1:19.1 actually would have been good enough for a top 10 qualifying position for Diego Campos. So just proving that there's plenty of pace in these cars, even though the tyres are starting to wear. Von Senior now nearly a full second ahead of Clint Trevino, with Alexander Zazulya only half a second behind the young American. Didier Arnaud 3rd place, 4/10 off, but needs crucially to make that position up, as does Alexander Zazulya, if they are to have any chance of securing the championship. Despite the fact he had his issue, Keith Murphy only 15 seconds off the race lead and is closing dramatically as he was beforehand. A 263.4 mile an hour run through the speed trap there for Clint Trevino. In fact, Trevino, I think, has caught back up to the back marker Yuki Takamura and is now trying to lap him again, which would explain some of the reason why he's lost so much ground to Vonsinia, now 1.4 seconds behind, about 1.5 seconds behind the Swedish race leader, who still can't make any inroads whatsoever into Cliff Trevino. It's very strange. An absolutely fantastic shot as they go through that left-hander onto the Rahal Straight for the 42nd time. Ludwig von Senior, no, 41st time, sorry. Ludwig von Senior, 1.3 seconds ahead. You can see the background of Cliff Trevino's on board there. The Swedish driver for AF Occlusion, very much there, very much in the wing mirrors, pointing out any of the issues that Cliff Trevino might be having, but somehow cannot make the move through. Fergal de Wit, 8th position, a pretty impressive performance from the Irish driver. 5 seconds off the race lead. It's all closed up tremendously. A 21.5 plays a 22 there for Vonsinia versus Trevino, so that's 1.1 seconds the gap now. Arnaud, 6/10 of a second away from Alexander Zazulya, while Ethan Wright is 6/10 of a second away from Didier Arnaud. Who, and indeed, Alexander Zazulya, 6/10 of a second away from Clint Trevino. The two Trevino father and son combination here. I'm going to get it wrong every time I say either of their names, and I have done so far, I'm pretty sure. But with 8 laps to go, the excitement is very much building. There's got to be one more twist and turn in this race, surely. We saw some absolutely incredible scenes with Yuki Takamura making contact with his teammate Felix Rivera about halfway through the race, just as we thought it had all settled down and everybody was just going to make their run to the race, to the checkered flag, and finish their season in a nice, calm manner. Clint Trevino, 0.8 of a second off, with Alexander Zazulya catching him as well. Didier Arnaud and Ethan Wright there in the train as well. The number 22 Medexic Racing Mercedes with Clint Trevino at the wheel. He might well have vertigo with such a good result here for the silver driver, but Ludwig von Senior has driven really well in the opening part of the race. And we mustn't forget, Ludwig von Senior, 11 seconds he had of a margin over the rest of the field. And he lost it because of the traffic, but it's the same for everybody, and he has done the best in going through the traffic, you have to say, as well. And of course, he has now got Yuki Takamura between himself and Clint Trevino. Alexander Zazulya, I think it'd be interesting to see. I'm trying to look. Declan Byrne, a brilliant move round the right-hander. It doesn't quite work, but nearly gets round the outside of Ryota Anishi on board with Cliff Trevino. That clear track ahead of him. He's got 6 seconds to Jonas Phipps. 6 seconds of clear track that any one of these front-running drivers would be absolutely begging for right now. They can have it. They just have to get past Cliff Trevino and make their run and their bid for freedom. Declan Byrne, 8th position, 6/10 ahead behind James Thompson. James Thompson up to 7th position through decent driving and, of course, a little bit of a race of attrition for some of those drivers that were naturally ahead of him. But he's done an absolutely brilliant job there, the British driver. Big old JT delivering the goods once more for Phoenix. It's still a second gap between Von Senior and Clint Trevino. It's all a little bit stagnant right now. I'm trying to look. Declan Byrne there with James Thompson ahead. It's Ryota Anishi in the Quantum car and Ethan Wright ahead of them. In fact, I think there's a slight gap now, isn't there? So there's 6/10 between Arnaud. Yeah, indeed, there is a 6/10 gap between Arnaud and Wright, and then there's another 5 seconds between Wright and Anishi. The 6th to 9th battle really has dropped. In fact, it's the 6th to 12th battle. Actually, it's a very close run thing in the midfield. So there we go. There's Cliff Trevino. There's Von Senior. There is the back marker Takamura, and then just in the background of the shot is Clint Trevino, going for his first race win, I believe, and also looking for a silver driver to take an overall race victory. Here we go. We're on board with Trevino. You can see ahead. You can see ahead. It's Yuki Takamura actually hassling the race leader Ludwig von Sina to get a lap back. But that is the gap. That is the race right there. It's the number 22 car of Clint Trevino with Ludwig von Sina ahead. Declan Byrne in 8th position. I'm trying to get a visual on Alexander Zazulya and Didier Arnaud, and indeed Ethan Wright, the three drivers there, they are the only three now that can have any bearing on where this championship heads. What they each need, well, Zazulya needs ideally 2 more places, but both Arnaud and Wright need 1 each. However, Arnaud needs 1 without Wright. Oh, who's that? That is Fergal de Witt into the back of Declan Byrne. That is a proper push-to-pass move there, but he's backed out of it. He's done the right thing. Fergal de Witt missing his braking zone into the Andretti hairpin, clattering the back of Declan Byrne's Campos Mercedes there. And it'll be I don't know whether or not that Declan Byrne will have a little bit of rear diffuser damage there due to de Witt's contact. Von Sina up to 1.4 seconds. Trevino's pace, Cliff Trevino's pace, that is, has increased just a little bit. That is incredible. Oh, Sebastian Bergqvist round, 12th place man. He's managed to get it going though, and I don't think he's lost all that much time. Very, very well done there, not to even stall it up the Rahal straight there. These cars not the easiest to do a hill start with. That was a good recovery there from Sebastian Bergqvist. Loses a bit of time, but not too much in the way of positions, and indeed he wasn't in the points anyway. 3 laps to go for Ludwig von Sina to get a 3rd race victory, and that will be the most wins in the championship, despite the fact he has only done half the season. You have to say, if Ludwig von Sina had done this full year, he would probably have been a force to be reckoned with and may well have secured the title. Clint Trevino 1.2 seconds behind. Alexander Zazulya 3rd. Didier Arnaud 4th and Ethan Wright 5th. The time is running out for each of those drivers now, though, because with only 3.5 laps to go, they each need to make some more progress if they can call themselves the GTV Supercup champion. Alexi Luger and Jonas Phipps have both lost a bit of time, I think, battling with each other, which means that Clint Trevino is now only the 3rd car. Oh my goodness me! 3 wide. That's a Phoenix round, I believe. That's James Thompson. That's such a shame. He got in. He was the middle of a 3-wide battle between Declan Byrne, James Thompson, and Callum Brandon. Thompson in the middle, braked the latest of them all, and just spun round. You can see a little bit of rear left damage there to the fender. I don't know whether there was a bit of contact between him and his teammate Brandon, but unfortunately that's dropped James Thompson all the way down to 12th position. Alexi Luger and Jonas Phipps 17th and 18th. They are now only a half a second ahead of Cliff Trevino, who is in turn ahead of our race leaders. So let's have another look. Ludwig von Sina, 9/10 of a second ahead. 1 second ahead now of Clint Trevino. Sebastian Bergqvist setting a personal best, having had his spin of 1:19.9. The pace would still be there if these guys were in clear air, but they're not. And as it stands, they need to find a way. Each of these drivers need to find a way, who are in the title fight, to either find that clear air, and it is about as simple as that. They need to find the clear air, or they need to make up a position each. A huge train of cars there following Alexi Luger through the corkscrew and around the final part of the lap here. Declan Byrne in 7th place with Onishi ahead. Interestingly, yeah, that's Dominic Hansen ahead of them. So Dominic Hansen has actually been lapped and then lost another 10 seconds in the final part of this race, unfortunately, for the British driver. Finishing at the tail of the field by the look of it in 2 consecutive weekends in 2 different championships. A shame for Dominic Hansen, although he is ahead of both Campos and Takamura. So here we go. 2 laps remain. Who is going to take home the GTV Supercup Championship? At the moment, it's still Yuki Takamura against all the odds. With everything that's happened, somehow he is still here and is still in with the shout. Ludwig von Senior now up to 1.5 seconds almost ahead of Clint Trevino, and indeed Trevino is just starting to fall away with Takamura ahead of him. Alexander Zazulya, though, right behind him. He can't rest on his laurels too much, while Didier Arnaud in 4th place still needs to make up that 0.4 of a second. Looking through the order a little bit more, we've got Bergqvist in that bit of no man's land with 21 seconds to make up to the leader in 13th place. But then behind that is a 40-second gap between Bergqvist and Rhys Catley. 1 minute and 2 seconds off the race lead. And that would be much more if it wasn't for the fact that they haven't managed to get past half of the traffic. But looking through now, here comes Cliff Trevino, and that of course means here come the leaders for one more. So here we go. We are now on the final lap of the 2021 GTV Supercup season. If anyone's going to make a move, it's going to have to be now. Ludwig von Senior, Clint Trevino, and Alexander Zazulya are your top 3, but Clint Trevino is invisible as far as the championship is concerned because Alexander Zazulya needs to make up 2 more positions. He needs to win the race at this point. Didier Arnaud needs to make up 1 spot on this final lap, with Ethan Wright also there, having to make up 1 more spot to move up from 5th position, unless they can get the fastest lap on this final lap, despite the fact they are boxed up behind the traffic. However, as it stands, Ludwig von Senior is going to come through to take the victory by the look of it with 1.5 second margin. But just behind the Swedish driver is Yuki Takamura. He had an issue in the middle of the race. He was boxed up behind his teammate Felix Rivera for most of the start of the race. Halfway through, followed Rivera into a mistake at the corkscrew. Ended up backwards, had to be wheeled back to the pit lane, and then came out a full 2 laps behind the rest of the field. But we have Ludwig von Senior coming through towards the final part of the lap, coming round the final corner now. He is going to win this race, his 3rd race of the season. He is going to win the most races despite only competing in half the season. But 1 car behind, it is Yuki Takamura. He is the 2021 GTV Supercup champion. Absolutely incredible performance from Takamura throughout the season. Had a bad run today, but it just wasn't to be for Zazulya, Arnaud and Wright, who pushed him down to the wire in the end. Declan Byrne got a run on Ryota Onishi, took 6th by the end of the line. But wow, what a performance, what a season, what a first year we have had for the GTV Super Cup. Rhys Catley has put together an absolutely brilliant season, and it's going to be interesting to see where this series goes. It's only going to go from strength to strength as we continue on. We've got some of the backmarkers coming through now. Rhys Catley, Alexis Kaufman, Luca Gray, Alexi Luga, Jonas Phipps and Clint Trevino, who will be the final driver to cross the line, almost an entire lap down but staying on the lead lap. However, today is all about Ludwig von Senior in terms of the victory in the race. After a commanding first part of the race performance, he was up to 11 seconds, but the backmarkers came and played their part, almost handing over the championship to one of Alexander Zazulya, Didier Arnaud or Ethan Wright. However, despite the fact he had the race from hell, Yuki Takamura is your 2021 GTV Supercup champion. We just have the last few drivers coming across the line. There we go. Luga, Phipps and Cliff Trevino rounding off a wonderful race there. Well done to Ludwig von Senior and well done to the champion, Yuki Takamura. So there we have it. After an absolutely frenetic race to end the 2021 GTV Supercup season, Ludwig von Senior is your final winner of the year here at Laguna Seca. He won by just over a second from Clint Trevino, with title contender Alexander Zazulya third, ultimately not enough for him to secure the championship. Didier Arnaud was fourth with Ethan Wright fifth, both also in the hunt for the championship up until the final round, while Declan Byrne sixth, Ryota Onishi seventh, Callum Brandon eighth, Fergal Devitt ninth and Felix Rivera 10th, rounding out the points. Keith Murphy was in 11th, while James Thompson was 12th. Sebastian Bergqvist 13th after a late spin, while Rhys Catley put in a consistent performance to take 14th, ahead of some more esteemed competitors. Alexis Kaufman was 15th, Luca Gray 16th, Alexi Luga and Jonas Phipps 17th and 18th, while Cliff Trevino, the driver that ultimately could have affected the race in the biggest way with the difficulty in passing him in the traffic, 19th position. Dominic Hansen was in 20th position, first of the runners, 1 lap down, while Diego Campos, after a late issue, finishes 21st and also a lap down. Yuki Takamura, 22nd place, 2 laps down, and yet the GTV Supercup champion for 2021. In the end, Takamura wins the championship by just 3 points, with Didier Arnaud in second. All he needed was the fastest lap, but in the end he couldn't get that. It went to Diego Campos. Ethan Wright third place, level on points, but only finishing in third position in the championship due to the fact that Didier Arnaud won one more race overall than the British driver. Alexander Zazulia, the final one of our final four for 2021. Fourth place, 2 points further off, 5 points off the overall championship. In the end though, Ludwig von Senior, despite missing 3 rounds of the GTV Supercup for 2021, 5th position overall and only 9 points away from the championship. You have to say that the Swede would have been the favourite for the title had he competed in the full season. Crowd favourite Diego Campos, 6th position overall, with Ryota Inishi in 7th. It's Clint Trevino 8th, first silver driver, with James Thompson 9th overall and 8th out of the gold drivers. Virgil de Wit, Declan Byrne making 2 Irish drivers, 10th and 11th, with Felix Rivera 12th, Bergqvist 13th, and Cliff Trevino, the first of the bronze drivers, in 14th. Rhys Catley drove in close though, within 4 points of the championship for bronze, with Keith Murphy 16th overall. Callum Brandon was 17th, while Luca Gray was 18th, Alexi Luger 19th, Jonas Phipps 20th, Alexis Kaufman 21st, and rounding out the field for the 2021 season with Dominic Hansen finishing 22nd and last. Kaufman and Hansen the only non-scorers during the entire championship season. In the team's championships, it's Medexic Racing who are the 2021 winners, with a 60-point buffer in the end over second place Legion Motorsport, whose chances of the title went downhill rapidly due to the issues with Rivera and Takamura. Grey Autosport was third, only 6 points further back from Legion, while Catley Racing were fourth. Quantum Industries Motorsport Novasphere was 5th position, at 30 points further back than Catley in fourth, but with plenty to shout about in terms of their projects for the future. AF Occlusion, the single car team that again, with the winner Ludwig von Senior, only competed in 6 of the 9 rounds, 179 points. Utterly incredible performance there from everybody in that team. Campos Motorsport was 7th place, while Phoenix Motorsport quite a way distant at the foot of the table, 8th position with 73 points. Now it's time to commemorate our champions one more time for 2021, starting with the bronze category. Driving for his own team, Medexic Racing, with a total of 17 points in the championship, with the best finish in 2021 of 6th place at the Monza round, it is Clint Trevino. In the silver category, it's another success for Medexic. It's 76 points. He's driving for his father's team. A best overall finish in 2021, though, of 2nd place right here in his home circuit of Laguna Seca. It is the young American, Clint Trevino. For the team's championships, well, they won bronze, they've won silver, and they did fall just short with Didier Arnaud in the 2021 GTV Supercup overall championship, but with 278 points with Didier Arnaud, Cliff Trevino and Clint Trevino. This is Medexic Racing. But finally, it's the big one. It's the one that all of the drivers wanted to win, the Gold Drivers' Championship, as well as overall honours. For Legion Motorsport, with a total of 188 points, he took 2 wins during the championship despite missing the first round of the year. He won at Imola and he won at the Nürburgring. He has taken a total of 4 podiums in the 2021 season. Your champion for 2021 in the GTV Supercup is Yuki Takamura. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching today, and indeed for watching throughout the course of the 2021 GTV Supercup season. We've had some absolutely fantastic racing in the first year of the championship, and we've seen a very popular champion crowned in the form of Yuki Takamura. The Medexic Racing team won the team's championship, but I think for the next year, everybody is going to step up their game. It's going to be absolutely incredible to see, and I hope you'll join us for it. I've been Robert Mathershaw. Thank you very much for watching. By the way, watch out for a Future of GTV announcement on the 28th of November. Rhys Catley has some very exciting news for the future of GTV, and I'm sure you're all going to love it.